Seoul was alive with the hum of daily life. Cars honked on busy streets. Shopkeepers arranged fresh produce in colorful displays, and children laughed as they ran through parks. It was just another ordinary day, or so it seemed. The sun hung high in the sky, casting golden light over the sprawling city. But then, something strange happened. The birds stopped chirping. At first, no one paid much attention. Birds often flew away when startled by loud noises or sudden movements. But this time, it wasn't just a few sparrows taking flight. Every bird in sight vanished from the skies. Even the wind seemed to die down, leaving an eerie silence that made people uneasy. Jean, a young astrophysicist who worked at KISD, noticed it while walking home from her lab. She paused under a tree, looking up at the empty branches where pigeons usually perched. Something felt wrong, very wrong. Then came the shadow. A massive shape loomed overhead, blotting out the sun. People froze in place, their eyes wide with disbelief as they stared upward. Hovering above Seoul was a colossal alien vessel unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Its surface shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water, pulsating faintly as if it were alive. There were no visible windows or engines, only smooth curves and glowing patterns that danced across its exterior. It was beautiful and terrifying. Jean's heart raced as she watched the ship descend lower, hovering silently above the city. Her mind immediately went into overdrive. As a scientist, she knew Earth wasn't alone in the universe, but she never imagined humanity would encounter extraterrestrial life like this. What did they want? Why were they here? And most importantly, what were they capable of? Before anyone could react, the aliens made their presence known, not with words, but with action. Drones erupted from the underside of the ship, sleek and metallic, moving with unnatural precision. They swarmed the city, targeting buildings, vehicles, and even trees. With beams of blinding energy, they began dismantling everything in their path. Skyscrapers crumbled like sandcastles, and streets cracked open as underground pipes exploded. Panic spread like wildfire as people scrambled to escape the destruction. June, a journalist covering environmental issues for a local newspaper, was nearby when the attack began. She had been interviewing a group of activists about pollution in the Han River when the ground shook violently beneath her feet. At first, she thought it was an earthquake, but when she looked up and saw the alien drones tearing apart the bridge behind her, she realized this was far worse. Grabbing her camera, she started filming the chaos, her hands trembling as she captured the horror unfolding around her. "Stay calm," June shouted to the activists, though her voice betrayed her fear. "We need to get out of here." They ran together, dodging falling debris and screaming bystanders. June couldn't stop herself from filming, even as tears streamed down her face. This wasn't just a story anymore. It was history in the making. Every frame of footage mattered. Somewhere deep inside, she hoped someone would see it and find a way to fight back. Meanwhile, Jean returned to her lab, determined to understand what was happening. Her colleagues were already gathered around computers, frantically analyzing data streams and satellite images. The room buzzed with tension as everyone tried to make sense of the invasion. Jean joined them, focusing on the strange patterns emitted by the alien ship. To the untrained eye, they looked like random flashes of light. But to Jean, they resembled mathematical equations, complex codes embedded within the ship's glow. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she decoded the signals. Bit by bit, fragments of meaning emerged. It wasn't a language exactly, but a series of logical statements. One phrase stood out among the rest. "You will perish quietly." Jean's blood ran cold. It wasn't a question or a negotiation. It was a declaration. The aliens weren't here to communicate or coexist. They had judged humanity unworthy of survival. "This can't be real," muttered one of her colleagues, reading over her shoulder. Why would they do this? Jean didn't answer. She didn't have an answer. All she knew was that humanity was facing extinction unless someone figured out how to stop these invaders. But how could you fight against being so advanced? Their technology was beyond anything humans had ever dreamed of. Tanks and fighter jets were useless against their drones. Governments around the world issued statements calling for calm, but it was clear they had no idea what to do either. As night fell, the destruction continued. Fires raged across Seoul, painting the horizon orange and red. Refugees poured into subway stations and underground shelters, clutching whatever belongings they could carry. Families huddled together, praying for salvation. Others wandered aimlessly, shell-shocked by the scale of the devastation. The air smelled of smoke and despair. In the midst of the chaos, Hae-jin remained focused. She couldn't afford to give up, not yet. If there was any chance of saving humanity, it lay in understanding the aliens' motives. She spent hours poring over the decoded messages, searching for clues. Slowly, a grim picture began to emerge. The aliens viewed humans as parasites, a species consuming resources without contributing anything meaningful to the planet. In their eyes, Earth was better off without us. But Hae-jin refused to accept that verdict. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it wasn't worthless either. We created art, music, literature, and science. We dreamed of exploring the stars and unlocking the mysteries of the universe. Surely, those achievements counted for something. By dawn, exhaustion weighed heavily on Hae-jin's shoulders, but her resolve burned brighter than ever. She printed out her findings and prepared to share them with anyone who would listen. Whether it was governments, scientists, or ordinary citizens, someone needed to hear this message. Humanity still had value, and if the aliens wouldn't listen, maybe it was time for humanity to show them. Outside, the battle raged on. Alien drones continued their relentless assault, reducing entire neighborhoods to rubble. Yet amidst the ruins, small acts of courage and defiance began to emerge. Strangers helped each other to safety. Volunteers distributed food and water to those in need. People banded together, refusing to let fear consume them. For the first time in history, humanity faced an enemy unlike any other. But as the sun rose over the battered city, a new determination took root. No matter how powerful the invaders were, one thing was certain. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. The world was in chaos. News of the alien invasion spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the globe within hours. Governments scrambled to respond, but their efforts were futile. Fighter jets launched desperate attacks on the drones, only to be obliterated midair by beams of energy that sliced through metal as if it were paper. Tanks rolled into battlefields, firing everything they had, but their shells bounced harmlessly off the alien shields. Humanity's greatest weapons were useless against an enemy so far beyond its understanding. In Seoul, the destruction continued unabated. Streets once filled with life were now littered with rubble and ash. Families huddled together in makeshift shelters, their faces etched with fear and exhaustion. Yet amid the despair, a spark of hope began to ignite. People refused to give up. They couldn't, not yet. Min-soo was one of those who refused to surrender. A former soldier turned mechanic, he ran a small repair shop in Busan, a city farther south along Korea's coastline. When news of the invasion reached him, he immediately locked up his shop and headed towards Seoul. He knew he couldn't sit idly by while his country and his planet was being torn apart. As Min-soo drove through the devastated landscape, he saw scenes that would haunt him forever. Entire neighborhoods reduced to dust. Children crying for parents they'd lost. Smoke rising from burning buildings, choking the air. But he also saw something else. Resilience. Strangers helping strangers. Volunteers risking their lives to pull survivors from the wreckage. Humanity wasn't broken, not completely. It was wounded, yes, but still fighting. When Min-soo arrived in Seoul, he found his younger sister, Soo-ah, alive but shaken. She had been working at a cafe when the attack began and barely escaped with her life. Together, they searched for food and supplies, scavenging what they could from abandoned stores. Along the way, Min-soo noticed something strange. Fragments of alien technology scattered among the ruins. Drones lay shattered on the ground, their sleek frames cracked open to reveal intricate circuits and glowing components. To most people, these pieces would have been meaningless junk, but to Min-soo, they were opportunities. Back at his shop in Busan, Min-soo had spent years fixing cars and machines, learning how they worked inside and out. Now, he applied that same knowledge to the alien tech. Using tools he brought with him, he carefully dismantled the drone parts, studying their design. The materials were unlike anything he'd ever seen, lightweight yet incredibly strong, capable of storing vast amounts of energy. Slowly, an idea began to form in his mind. "What are you doing?" Su'a asked one evening as she watched him tinker with the alien components. "I'm making weapons," Min-Su replied without looking up. His voice was calm but firm. "If we can't fight them with our guns, maybe we can use theirs." Su'a stared at him, unsure whether to feel hopeful or terrified. "Do you really think it will work?" "I don't know," Min-Su admitted, "but I have to try." Over the next few days, Min-Su worked tirelessly, piecing together crude but functional devices from the alien scraps. He built handheld energy blasters that could cut through steel and portable EMP grenades designed to disable the drones temporarily. Each weapon was rough and imperfect, but they were better than nothing. Word of Min-Su's creation spread quickly, drawing attention from others desperate to fight back. One such person was Jiun, the journalist who had filmed the initial attack. After escaping the destruction near the Han River, she had dedicated herself to documenting humanity's struggle against the invaders. Her footage showed not just the devastation, but also the courage of ordinary people standing up to the aliens. It inspired thousands and caught the eye of Min-Su. Jiun tracked him down after seeing videos of his homemade weapons online. She found him in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul, surrounded by tools and half-finished gadgets. At first, Min-Su was wary of her presence. Journalists usually wanted stories, not solutions. But Jiun surprised him. Instead of asking questions, she offered her help. "These weapons, they're incredible," Jiun said, holding up one of the blasters. "But you can't do this alone. You need more people, more resources." Min-Su nodded slowly. "I know, but where do I start?" "With me," Jiun replied. "I've got connections. I can get the word out. If people see what you're doing, they'll want to join you." Together, they formed a grassroots resistance group called Jiangshinui Bio, Star Justice. Jiun used her platform to share videos of Min-Su's inventions, calling on anyone willing to fight to join them. The response was overwhelming. Within days, volunteers poured in from all walks of life. Farmers, engineers, artists, even retired soldiers. Some came with skills. Others came with sheer determination. All shared one goal: to drive the invaders from Earth. While Min-Su trained recruits in guerrilla tactics, Jiun documented their progress, ensuring the world saw their efforts. Her videos became a beacon of hope, inspiring others to rise up against the aliens. Resistance cells sprang up across Korea and beyond, united under the banner of Jiangshinui Bio. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity felt a glimmer of unity. Meanwhile, Heijin continued her work decoding the alien transmissions. Back at KISD, she pored over the day and night, searching for any weakness in the invader strategy. The message she had uncovered, "You will perish quietly," still haunted her. It wasn't just a threat, it was a belief. The aliens truly saw humanity as unworthy of survival. But why? What made them think that way? Heijin dug deeper, analyzing every signal the ship emitted. She discovered patterns that suggested the aliens viewed Earth as a resource, a planet to be harvested and repurposed. To them, humans were little more than pests consuming what rightfully belonged to them. It was a chilling perspective, one that left no room for negotiation or compromise. But Heijin refused to accept defeat. If the aliens wouldn't listen to reason, perhaps they could be shown the truth. Drawing on her expertise in astrophysics and communication, she devised a plan to broadcast a countermessage to the mothership. Using hacked satellites, she intended to send images and recordings showcasing humanity's achievements: art, music, science, love, and sacrifice. The message would end with a simple declaration: "We are creators, dreamers, survivors. We will not die quietly." It was a risky plan. The aliens might ignore it, or worse, retaliate with even greater force. But Heijin believed it was worth trying. Humanity had survived wars, plagues, and natural disasters. Surely, it deserved a chance to prove itself before being wiped out entirely. As she prepared the broadcast, Heijin reached out to Min-Su and Jiun, hoping to coordinate their efforts. Though separated by distance, the three of them shared a common purpose: to show the aliens that humanity was more than just a species to be exterminated. They were fighters, innovators, and dreamers, and they weren't going down without a fight. Across the globe, resistance movements gained momentum. In Europe, farmers sabotaged alien harvesters targeting crops. In Africa, hackers disrupted the invaders' communication networks. In North America, engineers reverse-engineered captured drones to create new defenses. Bit by bit, humanity clawed back some measure of control. Yet despite these victories, the aliens remained relentless. Their drones continued to ravage cities, leaving behind barren wastelands. Casualties mounted and morale wavered. Many wondered if the resistance was doomed to fail. Could humanity really stand against such overwhelming odds? Min-Su didn't have an answer. Neither did Jiyun or He-Jin. But they kept moving forward, driven by a stubborn refusal to give up. Every weapon forged, every message sent, every act of defiance mattered. Because deep down, they all knew one thing: as long as there was breath in their lungs, humanity would keep fighting. And so, beneath the shadow of the alien ship, a quiet revolution took root. People from all corners of the earth joined forces, united by a single rallying cry: "We will not die quietly." The resistance was growing stronger, but time was running out. The aliens showed no signs of slowing down. Every day, more cities fell to their relentless attacks. Entire regions were stripped bare, leaving behind barren landscapes that looked like the surface of a dead planet. Humanity's hope rested on fragile alliances and makeshift weapons, but the invaders' technology was far beyond anything Earth could produce. It felt like trying to fight a storm with bare hands. Min-Su and Jiyun worked tirelessly to expand Jiangshinyuai Baiyao. Their group had grown from a handful of volunteers to hundreds of fighters spread across Korea. They trained in hidden locations, abandoned warehouses, underground tunnels, and remote forests, preparing for the day that would strike back against the aliens. Min-Su taught them how to use the weapons he'd built, while Jiyun documented their efforts, sharing videos to inspire others around the world. Her footage showed ordinary people standing up to an impossible enemy, proving that courage wasn't about strength. It was about refusing to give up. But despite their progress, the resistance faced a major problem. They didn't know enough about the aliens. How did their ships work? What powered their drones? And most importantly, what was their ultimate goal? Without answers, humanity's chances of survival were slim. That's where He-Jin came in. He-Jin had been working nonstop to decode the alien transmissions. Her lab at KAIS became a hive of activity as she collaborated with other scientists who joined her cause. Together, they analyzed every signal emitted by the mothership, searching for clues. Slowly, a clearer picture began to emerge. The aliens weren't just here to harvest resources. They intended to terraform Earth entirely. They planned to wipe out all life and reshape the planet into something unrecognizable, a new home for their own kind. The revelation hit He-Jin like a punch to the gut. Terraforming meant extinction, not just for humans, but for every living thing on Earth. Animals, plants, even microscopic organisms would be erased. The weight of this knowledge crushed her, but it also fueled her determination. If humanity couldn't negotiate with the invaders, then they had to find another way to stop them. Her breakthrough came late one night when she discovered a pattern in the alien signals that hadn't made sense before. Hidden within the mathematical equations was a map, a blueprint of sorts. It detailed the structure of the mothership, including its core systems and vulnerabilities. He-Jin realized this wasn't just random data. It was a message meant for someone else, someone aboard the ship. At first, she thought it might be a trap. Why would the aliens leave such critical information unguarded? But as she studied the patterns further, she noticed inconsistencies. Some of the signals contradicted each other, almost as if there were two different voices speaking to the same channel. Could it be possible? Were there factions among the invaders? He-Jin reached out to Min-Su and Jiyun immediately. "I think there are rebels," she told him during a secret meeting in Seoul. "Aliens who don't agree with what's happening here." Min-Su frowned. "You're saying some of them don't want to destroy us?" "Yes," He-Jin replied. They've been sending coded messages alongside the main transmission. I believe they're trying to help us. June leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. How can we contact them? I'm not sure yet, Heijin admitted. But if we can establish communication, maybe they'll share more information or even offer assistance. The idea was risky. Trusting an alien faction seemed like madness when the rest of them were actively destroying Earth. But Minsu and June agreed it was worth exploring. Humanity needed every advantage it could get. Over the next few days, Heijin worked to isolate the rebel signals. She modified a satellite dish to amplify the connection, hoping to send a reply. Finally, after hours of trial and error, she received a response. The message was brief but clear. We see your struggle. We wish to aid you. The rebels identified themselves as Kale's faction, named after their leader. They explained that they opposed the genocide of humanity, believing Earth's inhabitants deserved a chance to evolve peacefully. However, their position was precarious. Acting openly against their own kind would mean certain death unless humanity provided support. Minsu was skeptical. How do we know this isn't a trick? He asked during another meeting. What if they're luring us into a trap? We don't, Heijin admitted. But right now, we don't have many options. If they're telling the truth, they could give us the edge we need. After much debate, the group decided to trust the rebels for now. Kale's faction shared vital intel about the mothership's defenses, including weak points in its outer hull and the location of key systems. With this information, Heijin devised a daring plan. Infiltrate the mothership and disable its core using a virus designed to corrupt its systems. Creating the virus was no small task. Heijin spent sleepless nights writing code, testing it on simulated environments based on the data provided by the rebels. Meanwhile, Minsu prepared his team for the mission. Volunteers stepped forward, knowing full well the risks involved. Many wouldn't return, yet none hesitated. This was their chance to turn the tide. As the preparations continued, June focused on documenting everything. She wanted the world to understand what was at stake and what humanity was willing to sacrifice. Her camera followed Minsu and the others as they trained, capturing moments of fear, determination, and camaraderie. She interviewed fighters young and old, asking why they chose to join the resistance. Their answers were simple yet profound. Because I have a family. Because I love this planet. Because I refuse to die quietly. One evening, June stumbled upon something unexpected while reviewing footage. Among the debris left behind by the aliens, she found glowing orbs scattered across the ruins. At first glance, they looked like decorative objects, but closer inspection revealed something extraordinary. Each orb contained fragments of memories, human memories. Images of laughter, tears, love, and loss flickered inside, preserved like snapshots in time. June picked up one of the orbs, her breath catching in her throat. Inside, she saw flashes of her father's face. He had passed away years ago, but his stories of resilience and hope had shaped her worldview. Now, those memories lived on, trapped in an alien artifact. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she realized the significance. These orbs weren't trophies. They were testaments to human existence, proof that even in death, humanity left a mark. Determined to honor those memories, June vowed to ensure the mission succeeded. She joined Minsu's team, insisting on coming along to document the final assault. If we fail, she said, at least the world will know we tried. Finally, the day arrived. Armed with weapons, tools, and unwavering resolve, the Resistance launched its boldest operation yet. Using a stolen alien shuttle, Minsu led a small team toward the mothership hovering above Mount Halasan on Jeju Island. Below, Heijin coordinated with Kale's faction, guiding them through the infiltration process. The stakes were impossibly high, but failure was an option. As the shuttle approached the massive vessel, tension filled the air. No one spoke. Everyone knew what lay ahead: danger, sacrifice, and perhaps death. But they also knew something else. Humanity's spirit couldn't be extinguished. Even in the face of annihilation, it burned brightly, refusing to fade. Inside the mothership, the battle for Earth's future began. The stolen alien shuttle shuddered as it approached the mothership, Its sleek frame blended perfectly with the invaders' technology, allowing Minsu and his team to slip past the outer defenses undetected. Inside, the air was thick with tension. No one spoke. Everyone focused on the task ahead. The hum of the engines filled the silence, a constant reminder of the danger they were walking into. Minsu sat in the pilot's seat, gripping the controls tightly. His knuckles turned white as he guided the shuttle closer to the massive vessel. Behind him, June adjusted her camera, making sure it was ready to capture every moment. She had insisted on coming along, not just to document the mission, but to bear witness to humanity's final stand. If they failed, she wanted the world to know that people had fought until their last breath. The rest of the team consisted of volunteers from Jiangshinhui Baiyao. There was Yong Jun, a former engineer who specialized in electronics, Miare, a medic trained to handle injuries under pressure, and Daeho, a farmer-turned-fighter whose strength and determination made him invaluable. Each person carried their own reasons for joining the resistance, but tonight they shared one goal: to disable the mothership's core and give humanity a fighting chance. As the shuttle docked inside the alien ship, the team prepared to disembark. Minsu double-checked his weapons. Energy blasters and EMP grenades crafted from salvaged alien tech, and gave the others a final nod. "Stay close," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his chest. "And remember, we're here to win." The interior of the mothership was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls glowed faintly, pulsating with light that seemed alive. Strange symbols floated in the air, shifting and rearranging themselves like living code. The floor beneath their feet felt soft, almost organic, as if the ship itself were a living organism. It was beautiful, but deeply unsettling. Guided by Heijin's instructions, transmitted through earpieces connected to hacked communication systems, the team moved cautiously through the labyrinthine corridors. Every step echoed loudly, and every shadow seemed to hide an unseen threat. They knew the aliens were watching, waiting. But thanks to Kale's faction, they also knew where to go and what to avoid. Their first objective was to locate the memory orbs scattered throughout the ship. According to Heijin, these orbs contained fragments of human memories extracted during abductions. Recovering them wasn't part of the original plan, but June insisted. "They're proof of who we are," she whispered fiercely. "If we can bring them back, maybe we can remind the universe that humanity matters." It didn't take long to find the orbs. They were stored in a chamber filled with glowing racks, each orb suspended in midair like a tiny star. June stepped forward, her hands trembling as she reached for one. Inside, she saw flashes of faces, strangers laughing, crying, holding loved ones close. These weren't just random images. They were pieces of lives cut short by the invasion. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she forced herself to stay focused. One by one, she carefully collected the orbs, placing them in a protective case slung over her shoulder. While June worked, the others kept watch, scanning the room for any sign of movement. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. Yong Jun froze, his head snapping toward the entrance. "Something's coming," he whispered urgently. Before anyone could react, drones swarmed into the chamber, their metallic bodies gleaming menacingly. Energy beams shot out, forcing the team to dive for cover. Minsu fired back with his blaster, taking down 2 drones before rolling behind a rack of orbs. Miare crouched beside him, clutching a medical kit, while Yongjun and Daeho provided covering fire. "Keep moving," Minsu shouted, firing another burst of energy. "We can't stay here." Jiun grabbed the case of orbs and ran toward the exit, dodging blasts as she went. The others followed, weaving through the chaos as explosions rocked the chamber. When they finally reached the corridor, they found themselves face to face with something far worse than drones: an alien soldier, towering and insect-like. The creature blocked their path, its multifaceted eyes glowing with cold intelligence. Long, segmented limbs ended in razor-sharp claws, and its body shimmered with the same iridescent colors as a mothership. For a moment, no one moved. Then, without warning, the alien lunged. Daeho reacted instinctively, throwing himself at the creature and tackling it to the ground. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the corridor, but it gave the others time to act. Minsu fired repeatedly at the alien, his shot striking true but barely slowing it down. Miare pulled Deho away just as the creature regained its footing, its claws slicing through the air where he had been moments before. "We need to go," Yong-jun yelled, tossing an EMP grenade at the alien. The device detonated with a flash of light, temporarily disabling the creature. Seizing the opportunity, the team sprinted down the corridor, putting as much distance between themselves and the alien as possible. Despite the narrow escape, they couldn't afford a rest. Their next destination was a control room, where Minsu would upload the virus designed by Heijin. The rebels had provided detailed schematics, but reaching the room required navigating through heavily guarded sections of the ship. Every step brought new challenges: more drones, more traps, more close calls. Heijin monitored their progress from Earth, her voice crackling through their earpieces. "You're almost there," she said, her tone tense but encouraging. "Just a little farther." Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached the control room. It was a vast chamber dominated by a towering console covered in glowing panels and floating holograms. At its center was a pulsating sphere, the ship's core. This was it, the heart of the mothership. Minsu approached the console, pulling out a small device loaded with the virus. His hand shook slightly as he connected it to the system. "Upload in progress," he muttered, watching as lines of code scrolled across the holographic display. "Hold them off." The others formed a defensive perimeter around him, weapons raised. Within seconds, the doors burst open, and waves of drones poured in. Energy beams crisscrossed the room, lighting up the darkness. Ji-yoon filmed the battle, capturing scenes of raw courage and sacrifice. Yong-jun uses engineering skills to reroute power to create temporary barriers, buying them precious seconds. Miare tended to minor injuries while keeping an eye on the entrance, and Daeho stood at the forefront, taking hit after hit, but refusing to fall. Minutes stretched into eternity as the upload continued. Beads of sweat rolled down Minsu's forehead, but he didn't dare look away from the screen. Finally, a message appeared. "Upload complete." "It's done," Minsu shouted, relief flooding his voice. "Let's get out of here." But escaping wouldn't be easy. The core began to destabilize, sending shockwaves rippling through the ship. Alarms blared, and the walls started to collapse. The team sprinted toward the exit, dodging fallen debris and pursuing enemies. Ji-yoon clutched the case of orbs tightly, determined not to lose them now. Outside, Kale's faction launched a diversionary attack on the mothership's outer defenses, drawing attention away from the infiltrators. Explosions lit up the night sky as rebel ships clashed with the invaders. Thanks to their efforts, Minsu and his team managed to reach the shuttle just as the core imploded, sending a wave of energy surging outward. As the shuttle lifted off, the mothership erupted in a brilliant burst of light, collapsing inward like a dying star. Below, the resistance fighters cheered, knowing they had struck a devastating blow against the invaders. But aboard the shuttle, there was only quiet reflection. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. Back on Earth, Heijin watched the fireworks in the sky, tears streaming down her face. Humanity had proven it wouldn't die quietly. Now it was time to rebuild and prepare for whatever came next. The explosion of the mothership lit up the night sky like a second sun. Its destruction sent shockwaves rippling through the atmosphere, shaking the ground below and filling the air with an eerie hum. For a moment, it seemed as though the entire world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Then came the cheers, loud, defiant, and full of hope. Minsu's shuttle descended rapidly, smoke trailing behind it as the team made their way back to Earth. Inside, no one spoke. They were battered, bruised, and exhausted, but alive. Ji-yoon clutched the case containing the memory orbs tightly against her chest, refusing to let go even as her arms trembled from fatigue. The weight of what they had accomplished and sacrificed pressed heavily on all of them. Yet, beneath the exhaustion was a flicker of pride. They had done the impossible. When the shuttle touched down near Mount Halasan, they were greeted by survivors who had gathered to witness the aftermath. People rushed forward, shouting questions and offering help. Some cried openly, overwhelmed by relief that humanity still had a chance. Others simply stared at the smoking wreckage of the mothership in awe, unable to fully process what they had just seen. Heijin arrived shortly after, her face pale but determined. She embraced Min-Su and Ji-Yoon tightly, her voice cracking as she whispered, "You did it." It wasn't just gratitude, it was admiration. Against all odds, these ordinary people had stood up to an enemy far greater than themselves and struck a decisive blow. But Heijin knew better than anyone that the fight wasn't over yet. Destroying the mothership was only the beginning. As dawn broke over Jeju Island, the resistance regrouped to assess the situation. Kale's faction had survived the battle, though many of their ships were damaged or destroyed. Through shaky transmissions, Kale confirmed that the loss of the mothership had severely weakened the invaders' forces. Without its central command, the remaining drones and harvesters operated aimlessly, easy targets for the resistance. But this victory came at a cost. The rebels were now exposed, vulnerable to retaliation from their own kind. If humanity wanted to win this war, they needed to act quickly. "We can't stop now," Min-Su said during a strategy meeting later that day. His voice was hoarse, but his resolve burned brighter than ever. "If we push forward while they're disorganized, we might be able to drive them out completely." Ji-Yoon nodded, holding up the case of memory orbs. "And we need to show everyone why we're fighting. These memories, they're proof of who we are. We have to share them with the world." Heijin agreed. "Kale's faction says the aliens saw us as pests. If we want to change their minds, we need to prove we're more than that. Art, science, love, all the things that make us human." Over the next few days, the resistance launched a global campaign unlike anything the world had ever seen. Using hacked satellites and communication networks, they broadcast images and videos showcasing humanity's achievements. Masterpieces painted on cave walls thousands of years ago, symphonies composed in grand concert halls, scientific breakthroughs that pushed the boundaries of understanding. They included footage of the resistance fighters, ordinary people risking everything to protect their planet. And finally, they shared the contents of the memory orbs, projecting fragments of human lives onto screens around the globe. The message was simple but powerful. We are creators, dreamers, survivors. We will not die quietly. The response was overwhelming. Across continents, people rallied behind the movement. Artists painted murals honoring those who had fallen. Scientists collaborated to develop new technologies inspired by the alien designs. Farmers replanted fields ravaged by the invasion, vowing to restore the land. Even children joined in, drawing pictures of bright futures free from fear. Humanity wasn't just fighting to survive, it was fighting to reclaim its identity. Meanwhile, Kale's faction worked tirelessly to dismantle the remnants of the invasion force. With guidance from Heijin and the resistance, they targeted key locations where the aliens had set up operations. Together, they liberated cities, freed prisoners, and recovered stolen resources. Slowly but surely, Earth began to heal. But the invaders weren't finished yet. A smaller fleet arrived unexpectedly, led by a ruthless commander determined to finish what the mothership had started. This time, however, humanity was ready, armed with knowledge gained from the rebels and weapons built from salvaged tech. The resistance mounted a fierce counterattack. Cities once devastated became battlegrounds where humans and rebel aliens fought side by side. The unity between species was unprecedented, a testament to the power of cooperation and shared purpose. During one particularly brutal skirmish, Ji-Yoon found herself face-to-face with an alien soldier. Her camera dangled from her neck as she backed away, heart pounding. The creature raised its weapon, its glowing eyes unreadable. Just as Ji-Yoon braced for impact, another alien stepped between them, a member of Kale's faction. After a tense exchange in their native language, the hostile soldier lowered its weapon and retreated. Ji-Yoon exhaled shakily, realizing how close she had come to death. But more importantly, she understood something profound. Trust could bridge even the widest divides. By the end of the month, the invaders withdrew entirely. Their fleet disappeared into the stars, leaving behind a scarred but resilient planet. Humanity had won, not through brute force, but through ingenuity, courage, and unity. The scars of the invasion would take generations to heal, but the spirit of survival burned stronger than ever. In the weeks that followed, Life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as possible. Governments rebuilt infrastructure. Communities came together to support one another, and scientists studied the alien technology left behind, hoping to learn from it. Kale's faction remained on Earth temporarily, helping with recovery efforts and sharing their knowledge. Though wary at first, humans grew to see them not as enemies, but as allies. For Hei-Jin, Min-Su, and June, the experience changed everything. Hei-Jin continued her work decoding alien signals, driven by a newfound curiosity about the universe beyond Earth. Min-Su opened a training center for young engineers and mechanics, teaching them how to build tools that could shape the future. And June turned her footage into a documentary titled, "We Will Not Die Quietly," which became a symbol of resilience watched by millions worldwide. One evening, months after the final battle, the three friends met atop a hill overlooking Seoul. The city was alive with lights again, bustling with activity. Children played in parks. Couples strolled hand in hand, and laughter echoed through the streets. It was a stark contrast to the devastation they had witnessed before. "I never thought I'd see this place so full of life again," June said softly, lowering her camera. "It's beautiful." "It's proof," Hei-Jin replied, smiling faintly. "Proof that no matter how hard things get, we always find a way to keep going." Min-Su nodded, gazing out at the horizon. "And we've got a long way to go. But if we can do this, we can do anything." As they stood there under the stars, watching the city come alive once more, they felt a deep sense of peace. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger because of it. They had proven to themselves and to the universe that they were worth saving. Somewhere far above, Kale's ship prepared to leave Earth. Before departing, Kale transmitted a final message to Hei-Jin. "Your people are remarkable. Do not forget what you have learned." Humanity wouldn't forget. Not now, not ever.